I don't have to tell you things are bad. Everybody knows things are bad. Everybody's out of work or scared of losing their job. The dollar buys a nickel's worth. Banks are going bust. Shopkeepers keep a gun under the counter. Punks are running wild in the street, and there's nobody anywhere who seems to know what to do, and there's no end to it. The air is unfit to breathe, and our food is unfit to eat. And we sit watching our TVs while some local newscaster tells us that today we had 15 homicides and 63 violent crimes, as if that's the way it's supposed to be. We know things are bad, worse than bad. It's like everything everywhere is going crazy, so we don't go out anymore. We sit in the house, and slowly the world we're living in is getting smaller, and all we say is, please, at least leave us alone in our living rooms. Let me have my toaster and my TV and my steel-belted radios, and I won't say anything. Just leave us alone. Well, I'm not going to leave you alone. I want you to get mad. I don't want you to protest. I don't want you to riot. I don't want you to write to your congressman because I wouldn't know what to tell you to write. I don't know what to do about the depression and the inflation and the Russians and the crime in the street. All I know is that first, you've got to get mad. You've got to say, I'm a human being. God damn it. My life has value. So, I want you to get up now. I want all of you to get up out of your chairs. I want you to get up right now and go to the window, open it, and stick your head out and yell, I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Political Spotlight. This is the 276th episode, Flying Blind Without Sound. I always hate when it does that. I did the sound test and everything. Yeah, I didn't sing the sound test this time. That's what probably screwed me up. If I break any kind of routine that I normally do, that's what I get. What the bad thing is, for those of us that deal with little OCD tendencies, anytime something reinforces those tendencies, it's never a good thing. Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome. This is the 276th episode of the Political Spotlight. I am your host, Christopher H. Bilbrey. Of course, we are 1 day further away from normal hair. 1 day more from not having a haircut. I'm telling you, one of these days I will give in and get it done. But alas, here we are in all of its glory, the mane that I've got going on. Hey, it's a big day in Delaware County, ladies and gentlemen. I actually had a whole other show planned for tonight with big topics. We've got a lot of stuff going on everywhere, but we've got big news to talk about. So that's what we're going to get to this evening. Hey, I want to thank you for being here. Whether you're watching via YouTube or Facebook or Twitter or wherever you're watching from, thank you for being here. Please take a moment and share the show to others on whatever platform that you are watching. Kate, I see that down there. Quit bragging about my hair. I get it. For those of you on YouTube, though, if you could take a moment and do the YouTube things, we would greatly appreciate it. That would be fantastic. Like, subscribe, share the show. But most importantly, the two things that we really would like you to do would be to, number one, communicate with us. We are very interactive. So if you're watching live, we would like for you to communicate with us over here on the live chat box. You can find it on that side of the screen. And if you're not watching live and you're watching sometime into the future via replay at your own convenience, then I ask for you to comment down in the regular comment box on YouTube. Either way, we will get back with you. We love to interact with you, and we'll want to hear what you've got to say, whether you agree or disagree or yada, yada, yada. At least it ain't a mullet. Yeah, I tell you, one of these days I'm going to have to put up some pictures of my father, who literally rocked a mullet from like the time he was 25 and until like we shaved his head because of the cancer, but like literally he rocked a mullet for the entirety of his life. Before the mullet was in style, before anyone knew what a mullet was, he had a mullet. During the mullet craze, he had a mullet. When the mullet craze went out, he had a mullet. So yeah, I I do not do that. Of course, he had amazing. His hair was real thick like mine, but it was real kinky, curly, kind of. Dad's hair was wild. So yeah. All right, here, ladies and gentlemen, we've got a big show to talk about tonight because, as all of us know, yesterday was Labor Day, and so therefore it threw off a lot of our regular plans. Generally, the first Monday of the month, we are busy, busy, busy town. We have elected officials meeting in various rooms all over Indiana and beyond as they were doing their business, meeting in governmental meetings, and that didn't happen because of the holiday. Some of those government entities decided to push the meeting off until next Monday, a week from yesterday. Some of those government entities decided to just hold off until the third Monday of the month, and they'll only have one meeting this month. And some of those entities decided to push it off till today. Now, listen, I did not know. I did not know that the Delaware County Commissioners were meeting today. If I would have known that, I would have been there. I am so upset and disappointed that I did not know this, and I stay involved, and this is how important it is, folks. I dropped the ball, I missed it, and so shame on me. But we did have a small victory, and folks are going to be talking about that and cheering. But And while I don't want to take that victory away from people, and I want people to be able to be happy about it and celebrate and be thankful, I certainly do not want you to let your guard down. I do not want you to take your eye off the ball, as they say, and I don't want you to forget about what's happening here. And we're going to be joined here in just a second by a special guest, who I think will back up what I'm saying here. And listen, there are going to be people out there in the solar movement who are going to say, and it happens every time, they're going to say, this is just Bilbrey being negative. This is what he does. And to that I say, I can understand it. You can even be mad at me if you want. You can not like me. But while this is just one sliver of a battle with some elected officials for you, this is just a Tuesday for me. I've seen this behavior from them before. I've seen it countless times. To me, while I think that this can be counted as a little victory, I almost see this as, it's almost a slap in the face to me. So I say celebrate this as a victory, but we need to talk about what happens next and why it's important. And to do that, we're going to be bringing on America's Councilman.
Thanks for having me.
He's here. Hey, how's it going?
Doing well. I heard we were talking about crazy hairstyles, so I figured I'll come out with the mohawk since you're doing what you're doing.
Yes.
But some fun with it. So thanks for having me on.
Yeah, no problem. So you obviously are, for those that don't know, the very few and far between, You are a Delaware County, Indiana elected counselor to the chagrin of many for just a few more months here. Still, you're gonna ride it till the wheels fall off. But you're still here. And with that being the case, I think that you obviously have been a front runner in fighting this issue. And did you know this was coming today?
I did not. And to touch on what you're saying, yeah, I'm here for 5 more months. I know some people probably got a circle on their calendars. Some people are probably wondering. They thought I'd be out the second that I lost the election, but no, I got 5 more months till the end of 2024. But no, I did not know that the commissioners meet. Now, I know they're meeting every couple of weeks, and be honest with you, I usually just catch it when I see my notifications. But you had mentioned something earlier, and I'm glad you brought that up about, we do need to celebrate all victories. We only get so many, right?
Yes.
As citizens against elected officials, we don't win that often. So we need to celebrate all victories, but we also need to recognize that this is the equivalent of celebrating being up by a field goal in the second quarter, right? We're not celebrating a win. We're just celebrating being up for a second. So just keep that in mind when we're moving forward with the fight. This is not a win. It's a good moment. It's not a win.
Okay, so I'm glad. I mean, obviously, we spoke a little bit this morning, obviously, to ask you to come on and talk about this, and we talked about that, and we talked about obviously what was going on. I will say I too did not see or did not know that this was coming. As soon as I realized that there was a commissioners meeting today, and I was pissed that I wasn't there, and I realized because of what was going on, I wouldn't be able to get there in time. They pulled back. They did something that they've never, ever done before. And they pulled the camera back a bit as they all stood up to say the Pledge of Allegiance. And the one thing I could tell was, number one, the room was packed full of people. And I was like, yes, the people are still there. People are going to speak. So I was happy to see that. And so I was like, all right, I'll tune in and see, what goes on. And then when they brought this up, I was kind of crazy, but somebody said it up here. David LaRue said, where the heck did this suddenly appear from? What candidate is sweating? And I'll be honest, I don't think that there's a candidate sweating anything. I think it's more of and we'll get your thoughts on this. I think it's more of they just don't want to hear from you people for the next 6 months. King is getting ready to go out. Of course, he's still licking his wounds. And I don't know where to fall on this. I don't know if I believe that they haven't heard from these people, because I think that if you watch what happened in the Gaston fight, they went back and forth on how much they knew and when about that. So I didn't really believe them about that. So I don't know if I fully believe that they didn't know from these people. Maybe so. And maybe that might be part of it. Maybe they're upset that this one snuck in and they didn't talk to the all-powerful King and Henry, so they're slapping them down or whatever. But I guess let's start from the beginning. So for those of you that don't know, the Delaware County Commissioners, Shannon Henry said that he wanted to put in place a moratorium. And so everybody's been asking what the solar moratorium is it puts in place more or less a
one second, Chris.
No, you're fine.
Brandy. My baby's wandered her way.
I love it. No, it's great. I can hear her. Then she's fine.
She's wanting me to read her this chicken book. Go take that to your mom.
Chicken book.
It's farm animals. Go in there and see your mother. Sorry, we're live.
No. Hey, it's fine. I get it. Have you ever seen that interview where I think the guy's talking to like CNN and he's some real uptight guy and he's in a suit and the kids come bashing in the door and like the mom like drags them off. It's the same thing. Oh, hi.
She want to make an appearance. Look, Eleanor, there you are on TV.
Hi. She's a cutie.
Yeah, she's getting ready to get her back as soon as her mother comes in here to get her. Hey, Mom! Get in there! Go in there with your mother. Take that with you. Oh, my apologies.
I love it. I love it. Hey,
Here,
don't stress it. It's great.
Right.
That is absolutely amazing.
Said,
No.
Go ahead.
So what happened? I agree with David. Like, this is kind of it's kind of nuts because it just popped out of nowhere. But I don't know. I mean, I was kind of shocked that this happened too. What were your thoughts on this?
Well, first of all, I think it's a little bit of both. Now the other. Shut up. This is the worst. I don't think that. I think it's a little bit of both. First of all, I do not believe for a second that when all this was going on in 2021, when they were doing 2-year moratoriums, that somebody that was involved in that other solar plan didn't contact the commissioners to go, hey, does that include us too? We're hearing all about gas and no one's talking about this. I just signed a lease last month. So is this moratorium include this? So I'm going to, I mean, I don't have no evidence of it, but I do not believe that for a second.
Well, that's absolutely, that is absolutely the case with them saying that these people have been working on this since 2020.
Yeah.
There's no way. So you mean this company has been working with these people since the pandemic, and then after all of that, the gas and stuff happened, and nobody was like, hey, I don't.
All right, Paul. Hey, give me talk for 2 seconds here. Hey, fix this for good.
Yeah, do your thing. Listen, the one thing I can tell you guys is, at least for anyone out there that absolutely just completely despises Ryan, they're going to be like, look, he's abusive to his kid and dogs. To me, I see this as, hey, look, he's a normal human being with an actual family that do things, and sometimes life gets in the way and things happen. And when that happens, you have to deal with life, and to hell with politics and everything else. And so I think it's amazing. Everybody knows what it's like to be a parent and have craziness go on. And so I definitely applaud that. And I was just talking about how it's going to be amazing that your haters are going to be like, look, he's abusive to his family. and the people who are like, oh, look, that's cute, he's got a family and he's normal. So it's going to be seen both ways.
Well, yeah, they'll say it both different ways. And yeah, I do have a real life. I got a 2-year-old toddler. I got dogs that won't shut up. People who actually know me know I do have 6 kids. Most of them are grown though. So
right.
But I do have a toddler, and she acts up. And I went back there. Good Lord, I was running away to the back of the house. Her mother was in the shower. I'm like, dude, what are you doing? Like, keep her in there with you. She's looking at me like I'm crazy. But anyway, so
no, you're
my
fine.
Apologies for the interruptions. I went ahead and locked her in her cage.
Oh,
I locked the baby in the cage, right? I put the kids up, so we can proceed with the podcast now that the baby's locked up.
You put the dog in the shower with the mom and locked the baby in the cage.
Put the baby in the cage, right? We got priorities here. We got to get this podcast going. So
yeah,
that's what we do.
All right.
But
there's the Ryan I know.
But no, I don't believe for a second that was going on. I do think some of them would leak through. What I think is a combination of 2 things happened. I think number one, they have a short memory, right? And when they seen how organized this group was and how persistent they were, how well funded they were, they've already got over 20 grand pretty quickly. And I think it trickled back to them, and they started having memories and flashbacks of, man, we thought this was all behind us. We already went through this once. Let's try to get ahead of this. Well, I think today was a chess move. That's what I think it was. It was a strategic move to try to slow the momentum. I did a video earlier today, and I used the scenario. This was a timeout. And I said, for those of you who follow sports, if you follow basketball, if a team goes on a 19-0 run, what do you do to slow them down? You call a timeout. Yep. And it's not for you. It's to slow the other team's momentum.
Yeah.
I think today was nothing more than a ploy to slow the momentum of the Roriton people, because they got a good momentum, and I hope they don't fall for it. I hope they don't take the
absolutely. And so the thing is, So then afterwards, after they did this, I was like, it's going to be interesting to see what happens. It's going to be interesting to see if, obviously, there were people there who were signed up to speak. So I thought, we're going to see something. It's going to be interesting to see how many people speak, or how many people say, oh, no, I was going to speak, but you guys did that, so thanks. I am glad that all of the citizens still spoke, because I'm going to tell you, for everybody that got up and thanked James King today, and thanked Shannon Henry and Sherry Riggin, listen, you got to be thankful, and I'm thankful to them, and this is, good on you, I guess, yada, yada, yada. I'm happy with that. I will tell you, I've known James King for 30-some years now. It feels like 15 minutes with your head underwater. And I'll tell you, what I could almost hear him detesting the people that were speaking through their comments. Like, he was ready. I was waiting for him to be like, how many more of you are there? Are you all going to be saying the same thing? Because he just does not like that. They want to shut that down. Keep in mind, for everybody's saying, yay, Shannon Henry. Shannon Henry is the man who did this last time. And then after he put the moratorium in place for a year and put a committee in place that wanted to come back and do all this, he then completely overcut their thing, okay? And then he said, yes, DC, for a while I did. I did for a while at the very, very, very beginning. And then Shannon Henry was also the gentleman who put the 35 that wanted to put the 35,000 acre thing in place. And so, it's like, wait a minute, what changed here? So, these people are able to change their mind at the, at the, drop of a hat. And so I just always want to tell people, you've got to be very cautious about this. And I understand. The other thing is, while I respect all the people from Gaston, they're just regular, and I'm not trying to say anything negative about this. They were just good old normal citizens coming forward. I'm not going to name drop anybody or out anybody specifically, because I know they don't want to be. But there are some pretty big community oriented people that are in the Royerton fight. And I think when King and Shannon saw some of the people getting up to speak over and over and over, they're thinking, oh shit, now what? And so they needed to do something. So, there's
definitely some players in the fight, and you do got to kiss the ring a little bit, because I've said this since the beginning. The commissioners have all the power. So, yes, it is appropriate for a couple people to get up and say, thank you for doing what you're doing. But let's not take our eye off the ball. I would have loved it if, listen, that, you know what that reminds me of? That reminds me of, I've been in some of the meetings myself, and some of my fellow council members would say, hey, I agree with everything you're saying. I agree with Ryan, but then they're going to vote. They're going to vote the other way, right? I sit there and heard Sherry say that projects don't have her support. I heard King say that he was fed up with these solar companies basically being bad neighbors coming in the community, the way they do things. They don't communicate well. But they have the authority to do something about it, right? They sit there and they give us a cracker or a crumb and say, guess what, guys? Moratorium. It's out of our sight for 6 months. When with a stroke of their pen, one of them could have made a motion to amend that ordinance, a resolution, and they could have said no to any future industrial solar the exact same way.
Sure.
They've said no to CAFOs the exact same way. They've said no to wind farms. And if they didn't want to take it that far, they could have, at minimum, brought up the ordinance that's already in play right now and put restrictions in there that would basically not make it economically viable for a company. Basically put in a bunch of red tape where any company you would send the message pretty quick. Yeah, we have an ordinance, but we really don't want you. They could do that.
Yeah.
So they're playing this game up. They're acting like they're on these people's side, and that's how we're just along for the ride, just like y'all. We just found out about it just like y'all. Bullshit. You guys have the keys to the car. You can turn this thing around if you want to. That's what the part that irritates me. I feel like they lie straight to their face.
Absolutely.
I can't stand when these elected officials look straight at people's faces and lie to them. And I hope they don't take their foot off the gas. And I hope the next meeting is them saying, thanks for the moratorium, but let's get down to real business. I want something in place saying the red carpet is no longer out for industrial solar. I want you, Mr. King, who's on record saying you're fed up with them. You, Mrs. Reagan, who said that this project doesn't have your support. One of you be a leader, take charge, and put a death nail in industrial solar in Delaware County, starting right now. Who's going to do it? That's what I want to see.
Absolutely. Well, and the thing is, you're 1000% right. And very much like you say you're here for the next 5 months. I know that King is licking his wounds. I know it's no fun to lose. I know, you wish, that you'd have 4 more years to fight the fight for the people. I'm sure King, whether I support him or like him or not, I'm sure King has things that he wants to do or would like to do or whatever. And so I know that he's probably licking wounds, but he is here for the next 5 months. And so, like Kate said, basically what I was saying was we needed a moratorium, and I wanted it for a year. I wanted a year-long moratorium so that we could have some time. When we're talking 6 months, that's only 6 meetings. That's only, 6 hours, basically.
12 for the commissioners, because they do meet twice a month.
Oh, yeah. 12. You're right. You're right. 12. Okay. So
think about this for real quick before you go any further.
Yep.
I was able to get Council Member Matt Kantz with me to vote to overturn the tax abatement that we had done for the solar company.
Yep.
The rest of the council, and with input from commissioners, was terrified of the county getting sued, right? They said we're in the right, we can do it. But even being in the right, they didn't want to get sued from this company. Well, what's this moratorium going to do today for these companies, the Hawthorne, that's already neck deep in their process? From what I've heard, they've not completed their special variance request through the BZA. So according to this moratorium, that pauses everything for 6 months. Who's to say they don't come now and sue us? So that was all a crock of shit. Everybody whining about, let's not get sued, because what just happened today could possibly get us sued. And they didn't seem too concerned about it.
Sure, absolutely. And the other aspect of that is, think about, so first of all, it's important when you're listening to normal politicians, normal political figures, to understand that action, like with anybody really, actions speak louder than words. So that's the first thing. The next thing, and the most important thing, in my opinion, is when they're saying no and yes, you've got to listen to what they're saying in the in between times. You got to read between the lines. And so when King, is saying, well, these people have been doing this since 2020, do you legitimately believe that 6 months is going to do anything to these people? They've been working on this since 2020, allegedly. They're going to keep right on working and doing what they're doing. So what's going to happen is
they sit through a 2-year moratorium already.
Yeah. And they see, right. And just kept right on plugging like nothing was happening. So when the clock strikes 12:01 on Saturday, March 1st, it's still going to be 6 months down the road of these companies doing what they're doing. And we're all going to be waking up out of our slumber. Now, I did get the impression, and there was one citizen that spoke, one female, and we're going to listen to this here in a bit, but I wanted to get, Ryan's input, and before he had to run off and do the family stuff for the rest of the night, I wanted to get his input on all of this. There was one citizen who stood up and said, again, and it's appropriate to stand up and say thank you, yada, yada, yada. I'm not saying we all just have to be assholes. We can leave that for those of us on the screen. I understand that everyone's not going to do that. But the thing is, one citizen stood up and said, thank you for this, and I appreciate what you're doing, but what's next? We need to know, what are our next plans? What do we need to do? And that woman needs to be a leader in this movement. She needs to keep people going and keep people in line and saying, like, look, they're not stopping. Delaware County Commissioners think they're done hearing about this. King thinks he's bought himself the next 5 months. You notice this is a 6-month moratorium. He's got 5 months left. He's hoping that no one's going to show up. And I guarantee you, and I'll make a pledge. I guarantee you, we see a crowd that is half as much in 2 weeks.
You know what they should do? If you guys if you people in the solar fight are listening, now is the time where your crowd needs to be twice as big.
They need to double it,
right?
I'm telling you,
turn on the pressure. What they've done today is smoke and mirrors, but it's a reaction. So you got them on their heels, you got them backpedaling. Trust me, I've been in the room with these people behind closed doors when they're stressing, when they're game planning. What the hell are we gonna do, guys? And they're trying to figure out a way to avoid the mess and the public feedback that comes with it. Now is the time to strike harder, keep coming to these meetings, not just commissioner meetings, any meeting you can get in on the record and voice your opinion and do exactly what I said. Thank you for the moratorium, but that doesn't do anything. I mean, that just pauses the game for the, what is it? For the ones who's, I'm not even going to go there. That's a totally different topic. Well, I will stop. I will leave my trolling at the door. I know I like to troll the libs every chance I get, but I'm not going to do it tonight. But anyway, this was just a quick pause.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean anything. So you guys need to keep up the pressure, pick it up, and demand real issues to be changed. And that takes place by either basically changing their ordinance and resolution to make it difficult for them to come in, or just put one out and say, you know what, the ones who are in as of today are in. Everybody else, it's done. We're closed for business. Yeah. And that the only one would be in Hawthorne. I know that's not great for Gaston because they're still holding that hope that something's going to happen there. But and it could if the commissioners would put their foots down and say, you know what, we're going to just take whatever heat comes. This is a great time to do it because Sherry doesn't really have an opponent. Shannon's apparently not running again. I don't buy that. And King's on his way out the door. So they don't have anything to lose by just taking the heat and taking one on the chin for the citizens.
Yeah. I mean, you're exactly right. They're in the best position right now that they could be with King being out the door, Sherry not having an opponent, next year being an off year. People have short-term memories and yada, yada, yada. And by the time they get through all of this, it could be. Listen, if the commissioners took action on this, I almost wouldn't like it because it's just one issue, and it would let them write their own book for the rest. They could be commissioners for the rest forever, and I would hate it because they would be screwing up everything else. But at least they would have done right on this. But I can tell you, the thing is. That's the other issue here is that, let me see, one of these comments said, Mr. Warmer up here said that this is in the backyard of 2 out of the 3 commissioners. And while I do agree with that and
council members
and several council members, I do agree with that. I still think that their political power and the sway and the people they talk to and things like that, I think that matters more to them. I don't think they have a problem just dealing with you and brushing people off, that we've seen them do it too many times. I think that what needs to happen in this case, like Ryan said, maybe not everybody gets up to talk. Maybe you bring, instead of bringing 40 people to a meeting, you bring 80 or 100, and you have 3 people talk that are appointed. But the issue is, and I want everybody to remember back to the meeting that we had when Tim Nickum was talking, and even when I spoke, we were talking about needing a moratorium. And the reason that we were talking about that moratorium wasn't so we could say, we got a year-long moratorium, wonderful, now we can go live life for the next year. The reason that Tim was saying we need a moratorium And the reason that I was saying that we need a moratorium and that I wanted a year-long moratorium or longer was so that if you think back to everything I've said, so we could catch our breath and then fight without the pressure being on our back. Because every day someone's worrying, oh no, did they turn in a special exception or do we got to go to the planning commission? Is this going on? With a moratorium in place for a year or 6 months, even if it's 6 months, we know that nothing's going to take it. It's a pause clock. That means, though, that gives us a chance to start planning what we need to do to fight this thing now, not in 6 months. And so you don't fight this thing now with the moratorium being in place by laying out and saying, thank you guys, see you in March. You cannot do that.
Well, the other thing, this is what I've recommended to any of these groups who are, whether they're fighting for a paving plan for their neighborhood, like we did in the that one neighborhood when I first got elected, which is out in that area too, Creekwood or whatever, and or this right here. What I've said is, you guys are all raising money. Get you guys 50 T-shirts, all like a bright, pick a color. You guys all wear red or green or yellow, and you're all well organized. Get 5, 6, 7 people every single meeting to come to these meetings and all wear your colored shirts. And you just have 1 or 2 people speak, but you're all there in your colored shirts. So the message is clear. They can tell you guys are here for this meeting, right? That's the first thing. The other thing is, part of me wonders if what they're trying to do is kick this can down the road. They know that Stephen Brand is on board with the anti-solar people. Maybe they want to let him take the reins, and then they can throw their hands up and make it look like Stephen ushered this in when he came in case that there's any blowback to the county or whatever. I'm not certain of that, but one of the things that's important that I mentioned in my video, if you guys haven't got a chance when you get done watching the podcast tonight, go to my page and check out the video I did today. It's about 6 minutes. But I mentioned something, when we did the moratorium in 2021, it was for a reason, right? It was, let's get this committee in place. We're going to take members from the public. We're going to take people who are for solar, people who are against solar. We're going to let them get all together and hash it all out and have years worth of meetings. And then at the end of that, they promptly disregarded damn near every single thing that they suggested. They completely ignored all of it. And then raised their 5,000 acre cap to 35,000 acres, which is 20% of the available solar or the available farmland here in Delaware County. And then they eventually come together and drafted this ordinance. Okay, I can see that moratorium. You got this committee, you got this, you got that. What the hell's going on now? What's this 6 month moratorium for what?
For what?
What's happening? There's nothing happening. There's no committee. There's nothing being done. This is nothing but a smokescreen. This is all this is. I know you people are so much smarter than this, and I know I don't want to come off. I know you guys are seeing the same things I'm seeing, and I haven't talked to anyone who's been really duped by this. Like, holy shit, we thought it was over. No, most people get it. They know. When I called and spoke with Ron Krauts earlier tonight, he's gonna. They count this as a positive move, but they still had a meeting tonight. They still got another meeting tomorrow night. They got organization, they got leadership in their group. They have a leadership meeting first and then an open meeting tomorrow. And so they're not taking their foot off the gas, but
that's good.
That whole moratorium is just a smokescreen because they're not doing anything. It's important that you guys see that.
Well, I'm very glad because I've only talked to a couple people today that were involved with this. It's been a busy day, but and those people are generally involved with what goes on politically. So it wasn't surprising that they didn't. I was just hoping that the normal people, you know what? I heard there was a speaker, and we're going to listen to him here a little bit later on. There was a speaker that got up and said, we are well organized. And the guy said, when this was going on in Gaston, we weren't there for them like they're here for us. And the guy said, people don't realize that when it doesn't really affect you, you're not in it. And that's the biggest sin in all of this, I say, is that people say, well, it's happening down there in Cowan and I live up here in Albany, so why do I care? Look,
we tried to warn them.
Yeah.
We tried to tell them this could be in your neighborhood next year.
Yeah.
We tried to tell them.
And chances are, if it is happening in Gaston in 2022, it will be happening somewhere else in the county. It will be happening in the county elsewhere, in 2024, and it will be happening in 2026 if they don't take this time to stop this process and to do what they need to do, and do that with the people. Again, it comes down to the bottom line. Maybe I'm an insane person again, where I say I want communication, transparency, and at the end of the day, I want our elected officials to do the will of the people. I want them to do what the majority of the people are wanting. And almost today, while again, it is a little victory and we need to celebrate it and yada, yada, yada. And I'm not trying to be a Debbie Downer on all of that. We've seen this before with this and other issues. We've specifically seen this with solar, and they basically slapped everybody in the face at the end of the moratorium. But we've seen this, and so the issue here has to be, is that we have to keep up, the fight on this. But what is very important about this is that we do not forget the fact that at the end of the day, what drives these people is power, staying in charge. And from our perspective, we need to be saying, you need to do what we're telling you to do. We want a seat at the table, and we're not asking for a seat down at the far end. We are in the director's chair. We are directing this thing. And when we're telling you that we want this or that, we want you to do this or that.
Yeah,
we're expecting you to do it. And basically what they did is they gave us half of what we wanted today. So they didn't even really do what the citizens were asking. We wanted a year-long moratorium. They gave 6 months. And so, the other issue is it's kind of like they're still not really doing what they're being asked.
No, I mean, there's an election.
Yeah.
So this is what the same. This is what I said as soon as I seen this. I've seen this movie before.
Yeah.
Let it die down. Let us after the election goes on, and we'll see what happens after the fact. But I think people are smart. They're getting together, and they're not gonna sit back and just let this go. One of the things, let's see, what was I getting ready to say? It was important too. It had to do with all of them. I lost my train of thought. Maybe it'll come to me in a second, but it was important and it was beneficial. Maybe I'll think of it. I don't know. Let me say, it was important. It was beneficial. It'll save humanity. I don't know. Maybe it'll come to me. It might come to me in a minute, right? But anyway, no. As long as these guys stay organized and keep putting the heat on them, I think that they'll move the ball, move the needle where it needs to go.
Yeah. Before we let you go, I do want to ask your opinion on, and I talked about this to you earlier. James King said something very interesting today, and I can't wait to see what the fallout about this is. But he's been ongoing and saying, we don't know. We've not heard anything about this. We've not heard anything about this. And then today he says, well, they have been talking to an elected official in Delaware County. They've been talking to one elected official, and that one elected, I didn't think he was going to name drop it because I started writing the comments, tell us who it is. And then he did. He said it was Delaware County Councilor Bill Hughes. And I was kind of like, oh my God, I can't believe that he just threw him to the wolves. What's your opinion on what King said about that?
Well, let me put this out there. King was on record today saying they didn't know anything about this till just now.
Yeah.
If you guys go back and watch the Planning Commission meeting from June, Rob Kiesling asked Bradley Bookout some details on this is why these meetings matter, guys. You guys got to pay attention. Rob asked the question, well, what are these? They just wanted to pay the invoices. That's like Bookout likes to do it like King does. Let's just pay the claim. What are the claims? Turns out one of the claims back in June was for some legal services for on record. These guys are all appointments of the commissioners in this group. and most of them are. Some of them are for the council. But anyway, the claim was to pay legal services for something to do with a road study out at that Roriton project for hooking up the overhead power lines.
Yes.
So they knew about this in public meetings back in June.
Yep.
King can play dumb all he wants, right? The second thing is he says Bill Hughes. I don't know. Maybe they talked to Bill Hughes. Bill Hughes has only been a council member for a year and a half, right?
Right.
But he is. So this has been going on since 2020. I can assume the only reason they reached out to Bill Hughes is because he is the president of the tax abatement committee. However, usually if a company applies for a tax abatement, they do that far sooner, right, than what we're dealing with now, like back when they're getting these contracts in order or whatever. And on top of that, they go through book out a lot of the times, right? To do their tax abatement, they go through book out.
Yep.
So I find it odd that this company would just now, according to Mr. King, a couple of weeks ago, a month or two ago, whatever, reached out to Bill Hughes. Keep in mind, just a week or two ago at our Delaware County Council meeting,
Yeah.
when all of these same people showed up and made their pleas to us, Bill on record said, I think you guys think we know more than what we know.
He did say that.
This is the first time hearing about it. I've not
Yeah.
heard anything about it. Keep in mind, Bill wasn't one of the elected officials, was out at the meeting at the Crouches. I was there. Jim Mokel was there. Matt Kantz was there. And obviously Stephen Brand was there. But Bill wasn't there. He was all learning this in that meeting right then and there. So that would have been a good time for Bill to speak up and go, about a month ago, this company reached out to me about an abatement, but, didn't hear anything else about it or whatever. So
Yeah.
I don't know. Bill's not the guy to take no shit if he thinks that King incorrectly put information out there about him. I'm sure he will correct it.
Yeah, this is gonna this is, I mean, I'm hoping he'll address it. I'm sure he will, but this is I've got a piece of paper already written out. Delaware County Council meeting questions. It's the very first question I have on there is if he doesn't say something between now and then, that's the first thing I want to ask him. Hey, Councilor Hughes, Commissioner King said X, Y, and Z. Is that true? Because if so, that goes against what he said at that meeting. And I like Bill. I like him. I think that he's an honorable person. I don't always like some of the direction that he goes, but I feel like he's pretty good. I mean, he stood with you on a couple of things that I didn't think that he necessarily would, and he did, and he is knowledgeable. I like him, and I think that he does a pretty good job. And the other aspect of this was that for those people that remember back to the tax abatement, whether we're going to rescind it or not rescind it, that whole ordeal, Bill, not out of political, malice or not being a dick just to be mean, but Bill kind of took some swipes at the commissioners. And really almost because of that is honestly, he took swipes at King and Shannon and said some things that I think made them look stupid that other people ran with. I ran with it and talked about it for weeks.
Yeah, they put that guarantee in there that they would get their money's worth, whether we approved it or not. That was dumb.
Yeah. Yeah. And he was like, they shouldn't have done this. They didn't have the ability or the right to do this, And so Bill had some pretty strong language for them in the way that Bill would. And part of this made me wonder if this was just King, because King is someone who is always, he's going to get revenge on you one way or another. If this was just him taking a chance to, throw some heat towards Bill. So I'm interested to see what Bill has to say about this. Hopefully it made him, mad in the way that Bill gets mad. I imagine you wouldn't know it, but, hopefully he says something about this and clears this up because it's very interesting.
Well, think about this. For whatever reason, it escapes my mind. That board did Amber and whatchamacallit are on Rob, the redevelopment commission. That's mostly appointments by the commissioners and some by the council.
Yeah.
I don't think there's too many citizens out there to believe that Brad Bookout, the guy who handles these things when these companies come in, is talking about this on record in June.
Yeah.
Right. And his boss, James King and Shannon Henry, don't know a thing about it. Nobody's buying that. Nobody's buying that. And if you didn't know anything about it, then you guys are on cruise control till the end of the year. You're mailing it in. Right. If that's the case, you step down now and let Stephen Brand just take over your spot, because I guarantee that they knew about it. I guarantee it.
There's no way. There is absolutely no way. Now, maybe in the, June. See, maybe King was worrying about the election or whatever, but one of them knew something. One of them knew, because that's the whole big battle and the issue I have with Bookout wanting to be a counselor now. He's in this position as economic development, whatever, and, he's wanting to wear all these hats, which I don't think is a good thing, but there's no way that King and look, King's whole election committee was ran out of the very same office that is in with Brad Bookout, and there's no way. There is no way.
And Bookout's going to be coming in when I leave. Bookout's going to be replacing me. I know they still got to do these votes in November and all that, but that's not going to matter. Bookout's going to be in there, and he. A lot of guys don't know, but Bookout served 2 terms as a Democrat back in 2008, and he did a good job. He was the president. But I've seen a different side of him that I just think like Weasley politician. That's what pops in him and Joe Biden. Those are the 2 faces that pop in my head when I think of Weasley politician. So he's going to be on the other side. He's still going to be in the game, influencing things. Now, Jessica pretty much run things nowadays, and Matt's Kansas doing his best to put her in check. But when Brad Bookout gets in there, those 2 are going to team up, and it's going to be hard for someone to speak up out against them and get their way. I'm
convinced that the council meetings are going to start being 20 and 30-minute long ordeals. They're going to get in and they're going to say, yep, nope, yep, yes, 7-0, 7-0, and out the door they go. And that's what it's going to be.
Well, it may be. It's not going to be like that over the next couple of days, because we've got budget meetings starting tomorrow.
Yeah, that's the thing.
I've got my book right here. Here you can see for requesting, they turned in a budget. We're the 89th poorest county out of 92 counties, and our department heads gave us a budget with a $7.3 million increase. I don't know how much money we still don't know what our number is. So I don't know if we have 7, if it's for a total of $44.8 million. Last year, when I walked in the door on day 1, I had this big plan. I wanted to cut the income tax, the property tax, all these taxes I was going to try to cut in the budget meeting. Jessica pulls me aside within 30 seconds. She says, we're like $7 million in the hole. We're like $7 million in the red. I'm like, what? So my whole plan went out the window right then and there. We're in the exact same situation this year as we don't have a damn clue what the dollar amount is. So when we walk in tomorrow, she may say, hey, we have enough to deal with this budget. Or she may say, we're 10 million and we got to make 10 million in cuts. So it could get crazy tomorrow. I have no clue. Won't know till tomorrow. We should have known already, but we won't know till tomorrow.
Yeah. There's no reason to hold that as a secret. That is so insane.
Yeah, we should know our max levy. We should know all of this stuff. I mean, I talked to Kance earlier. He doesn't know either.
Why?
I don't know. They were supposed to have some meeting with Ed today, and that didn't happen for whatever reason at lunch. I don't know what happened, but I can tell you there's some stuff in here that's going to get your attention. I'm going to have to draw and really shine a light on it. I'll give you an example. Ed, that freaking awesome auditor we got. He's done such a great job, right? They've not paid the credit cards. They're getting checks not sent out, all these damn things. Ed feels he's worthy of a $14,000 pay increase. Keep in mind, for years, people get like $1,000 raise, $2,000 raise. Ed put in a raise for himself for $14,000, and his chief deputy had $19,000 raise. So it's going to get pretty dicey when we start hashing this stuff out. Surely I've got some allies on the council that's going to think this is insane, going to shoot it down. Oh, and third time, Ed's going for that $2,500 stipend. He's the first 2 times we told him no. He figured third time's a charm, I guess. He's asking.
They'll just throw it in the budget. They can't tell me no.
And he's asking for this is a good one, a new employee. Keep in mind, you guys must have heard a rumor out there somewhere the Republicans believe in small government, not growing your government. Not these Republicans. We got all Republicans in Delaware County, and every year we're adding employees. This year is going to be no different. They want to add a claims, what is it? A claims deputy, or no, a compliance deputy.
Somebody
Make sure that, make sure everything's being done, which I think is what Ed's supposed to be doing.
Yeah, so right. As the elected official, are you not the claims man? Are you not the quality control person?
So Ed wants $14,000 extra, and he needs a right-hand man, $50,000. So now I know.
So back up. You said this real quick. I just want to make sure, and I know I'm not trying to hold you all night, but I want you to say this. Good. Ed Carroll, who is the Republican Party chairman, he is the Delaware County auditor, and he's the man that's been screwing that office up basically since he stepped foot in it. All kinds of chaos. They didn't do the taxes right for the employees for like all of 2023. They're not paying bills. Things are getting shut off. Credit card payments aren't going out. I mean, for the county, how embarrassing.
Power's getting shut off at the EMS station.
Yeah. Power's getting shut off at the EMS stations. And he's saying, look at what the good job I'm doing. If I feel like he's that dog in that house fire that's on fire, and he's like, everything's fine here. And he's saying, because of everything I've done, I want a $14,000 a year raise. He wants a raise from 2024 to 2025 of $14,000.
Now, I know I talked pretty fast. You heard that Ed wanted a $14,000 raise, a $2,500 stipend, a $50,000 compliance deputy, and another $19,000 increase for his chief deputy. You probably heard that, and that's all correct.
Yeah.
What I forgot to tell you, I know what you're thinking, but of course he's taking care of his team, right? They're all getting big raises too. No,
sure.
For those guys, he put in a $1,400 raise, a $1,700 raise, a $1,300 raise, 2% increase, 4% increase, 1% increase. Tanya, his chief deputies, is a 47% increase. Ed's is a 25% increase. So they're getting, the rich get richer, and the people at the bottom are eating shit, right?
Yeah, right.
So,
and these are amazing. These are wild. And keep in mind, this is the chairman of the Republican Party.
Way to lead from the front. If they get, I swear to God, if my council gives them any of this, I'm going to call every one of them out right there live on TV. This is nothing more than Republicans rewarding the Republican chairman.
Yeah,
right? This is nothing but you were in position to help you, boss, and we're going to give you whatever you want. I'm gonna raise hell about it, and I don't think I'll be alone. I think there'll be plenty of other people who will agree with me that this is nonsense. Hi, baby.
Okay, are you serious? You think that's going to happen?
Well, they vowed, they thought those $2,500 stipends was pretty silly. I mean, not silly enough. Ed's asking for them for a third time. so I don't know. Now, Rick didn't put his request in. The clerk, he was also trying to get the stipend, but he got the hint. He didn't put it in for his.
And listen, I'll be honest. If any of these jokers are going to get it, like I could have been okay with maybe giving it to Rick. I just didn't think that Ed deserved it for any reason.
Now, let me tell you about positions of character. This is when a lot of you guys have heard me talk about this before. A lot of you haven't. Last year, Sheriff Skinner is mandated by state law to get like a $15,000 pay increase every year. He, without any of us asking, walked up to that podium and volunteered to forfeit his $15,000 pay increase from his family so we could make our budget, right? That grows every year. So if it's $14,000 this year, that's going to affect next year, and next year. So it's not just $14,000 one time. When it's all said and done, it's like $45,000 because he has 3 years left or whatever.
Yeah.
You got this guy with that kind of character as our sheriff. And then you got our auditor, who, by the way, has never beaten anyone. Ed's never had an opponent in an election, ever.
Right. He's not never won an election.
Nobody's ever ran against him. He literally puts his name on a ballot, and he's walked into these positions. He's trying to turn a job of service. When we're elected officials, we serve the community. He's trying to turn a job of service into a lucrative position. That's not what it is, right? Well, just look at the contrast between him and the sheriff. So that's all you need to know about the two men. So, but anyway, I will. I'll be attending via Zoom on this tomorrow. Tomorrow, I think we should get down to business and get right to it. President Piper has a different approach. She would like to just sit and listen to all the department heads for 12 hours, tell us why they need every penny they're asking for. I think we can do that and make cuts, but that's her. She's running the show.
Sure,
she wants to do it that way.
Sure.
So,
and I almost think it's because if she sits and she allows them to get everything out, then it's going to be hard for you guys to be like, nope, 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 nope. Whereas if you went in and got to work and started doing this in a realistic way, it would be easier for people to cut. And I think she learned that from Scott. And I think, because that's not how other places do it. I'm telling you, Henry County is way screwed up. But if you guys would look how the council does their budget session, it would blow you away. It's amazing compared to how you guys do it. What you guys do is nuts.
Well, I can tell you, although they'll get the comfort of me not being there tomorrow, I'll be watching all day long. I'm not going to miss anything.
Yeah.
I'm going to be watching and listening all day long. And Matt will be responding for me when I need him to. But I think they're going to get a break by me not being there on day one. But Matt has an agenda on that he's planning. He's planning on asking them, and this is what we've asked for in these books before. We've never got it. We didn't get it this year. We want to know what they do is they tell us what was budgeted last year, how much is left in the account, and how much they're budgeting this year. What Matt's wanting to know is how much was added to that account the year before from what was previously budgeted. For example, last year for part-time, Ed asked for $10,000. Well, just last month, they come in for part-time. Ed asked for another $30,000 in part-time to get him through the end of the year, right?
Yeah.
Well, I look at this budget right here. How much? That's $40,000. How much you think Ed asked for this year in the budget? He asked for $10,000.
Okay.
No, yeah, well, they just had to go and ask for 30.
That's ludicrous.
Matt's sitting there with his Excel spreadsheet saying, okay, your budget last year, 2023, was $10,000. But how much did we transfer into it? Oh, well, we got $40,000. Okay, I want to know that number. So Matt's going to be doing that with pretty much every line item, or at least the ones that are important enough for it. So I think that's going to be something that's different. You're probably going to see a different budget. Last year, you got to remember, everyone, me and Jessica, that was those guys' first budget session. They didn't have their legs under them yet.
Yeah.
Matt, and I'm assuming the rest of them, feel like they have, with the exception of Bill Hughes, he understood it because he was our attorney my first 2 years on the council.
Sure.
But those guys feel like they got their legs under them. I think they're going to be a little bit more vocal this year. I know Matt is. And then on Thursday morning, I'll be there all day, 12, 14-hour day. And I'm coming with my red pen, and I'm going to start slashing stuff. I want to slash, I think, 20% of this entire budget is excess spending. And I think we can knock out 20% of it. 20% out of $41 million, I think, can be taken out of here. And I think we can take that savings and we can put it into public safety. We can put it into some of the salaries for the employees, because the employees are, all of them are underpaid. I know people don't want to hear about employees getting paid. They're way underpaid.
Sure.
But we can take care of them and put money aside for other things, put more into road paving, public safety, things like that. So we need to eliminate some of the excess spending, stop adding new positions like they're asking for a bunch, and stop these ridiculous raises. I think the prosecutor, one of his deputy prosecutor, has a $49,000 raise. A raise. But hey, man, I guess they're going to shoot their shot.
Yeah, you gotta, I mean, look, I get it. I'm okay with the department heads fighting for every dime for their crew, but it's what you guys' job is. It's the counselor's job to be like, all right, we're here to protect the people and to be fiscally responsible. Again, these are all Republicans. This is a 7-person Republican council, and these are supposed to be the conservative of the conservative, which is a complete joke because there's one of those, maybe 1.5, 2 of them on the council, and that half a person is Matt Kantz. But
there's also a factor in here that's going to be playing into all of this, which is that salary study. We never
Yeah.
ironed that out, the job positions, right? The job descriptions, and then what they're going to get paid. I think a lot of these people submitted budget requests for what that salary study said they should be getting paid. So that's going to throw a wrench in a lot of things as well. And I swear to God, if I hear one person talk about equity, I'm going to lose my mind over it, right? This is equity is a made up term. It's for lazy people and people who make excuses. It's liberal left-wing nonsense. And the last group of elected officials that needs to be bringing equity in the Delaware County government is all Republicans. I can tell you that. Trust me, eventually the wheel will turn. It'll be Democrats in power. Let them bring in the damn equity and the DEI and all that stuff. We don't need to do it as Republicans. And the second I hear someone talking about equity, I'm gonna flip out about it.
It's gonna be amazing. Hey, we've got a question here. What time does the meeting start tomorrow? Is it 8:30?
Yeah, I think it's like some special hearing right before that. Starts at 8 or 8:30. I'd start watching probably about 8 because I believe there's like a special hearing. But it usually goes on to like 8 o'clock at night. So it's a marathon.
It's like a 12-hour day.
Yeah, and it's open to the public. If any
it's
of you
open
can
to
go
the
up there,
public, people can attend, and it should be live streamed.
Yeah, as long as Mark's equipment works. Right? Well, I shouldn't say that. It's our equipment.
Yeah.
We paid for it.
Yeah,
We paid
as
for
long
it,
as the
but
county's, as long as Mark is figuring out how to work the county's equipment. So it should be live streamed, and that budget meeting so far as of right now, it goes tomorrow, Thursday, and Friday.
we did that. It's going at least tomorrow and Thursday, and then depending on how far we get through, we could make our mind up if we do it Friday. The last 2 years, we've not really done much on Friday, for whatever reason. Again, Jessica's in charge. They've chosen to do like 8 meetings for like 3 hours each, and afterwards, or just iron out the kinks and stuff. But
they spend so much time.
That's why I
something out.
That's why I got irritated about the day one of just listening. I mean, they turned this in. They turned in their budget. We know they're saying they need the money. Why do I got to listen for 12 hours and tell us why they need it? I mean, They submitted it. We already know they think they need it. It's our job to tell them they don't need it. My kids think they need $100 to go skate. I let them know you can go for $850. You don't need $100. So, hey, I'm a fiscal conservative, and this is my last shot with the budget, and I'm going to do everything I can to make sure that the taxpayers' dollars are wisely spent. Starting with, I'm not going to say that. I got a couple areas of focus I'm going to look at.
Well, good.
And then for you solar folks, one of the things, it may not impact this particular issue, but I'm looking at doing something from a council perspective here in the near future as well that may play a role in any future interest from companies wanting to relocate their solar business to Delaware County. So I'm working out the kinks of that, and just stay tuned for that.
Well, very good. We will definitely watch that. We'll be watching the budget meetings. They are always interesting. I am convinced the reason that they do not want these things, they never wanted them videoed, is because it's pretty easy to hold your shit together for an hour, hour and a half, 3-4 hours if you have a long meeting. When you're in these budget meetings for 12 hours a day, it's kind of hard to remember that you're all on film. And so I don't think Jessica likes the fact that, they get in here and these cameras can catch her like burping or farting or, using her normal language where people might not see that she's all poised and professional. And, they might overhear them talking about, cutting this or that. And so it's harder for her to keep the appearance up. And that's the reason it needs to be videoed. So I'm so happy. And I will tell you, and I will smack anyone down that will say anything different. The reason, first of all, we have a state law coming in January of 2025, but throw that out the window for a second. It was Ryan Webb, and I'll say I've been fighting this since I came back into the area in 2018-19. But Ryan has been fighting the charge, and it's people like us that fought this to have this live streamed, that the reason that they will be live streamed. So when you're sitting at home and watching these meetings throughout the next couple of days, folks, and listen, don't sleep on this. I know it's kind of boring, and they are boring, but tune in and watch this process, because will explain why a lot of stuff that happens throughout the year happens because of what will happen over the next couple of days,
and it'll show you where your council members put their support, right?
Yeah.
When Jane was alive, Jane threw all her support behind the fair board, right? Yep. She's going to make sure the chief deputies and the fair board's going to be taken care of. I was big into public safety. Two things that I think are some of the most significant things that I can look back when I'm out of office that I can be proud of is, I helped usher in the pay increases for the sheriff's deputies, and was able to get the council to live stream the budget meeting. Keep in mind, I was outvoted 6-1 on both of those.
Yeah.
But with enough public pressure, we were able to get them to vote with us. So you can make a difference being outvoted 6-1 if you've got the people behind you, right? And this live stream was one of those things. So yeah, I'm very proud of that, and it's important for people to be able to see what dollars are important to their elected officials. Are they taking care of their friends? Because that's part of the problem. You get in there, these guys get in there so long, they're around these same people, they become friends, and then they end up just taking care of their friends. They don't want to tell their friends no. Everybody's in the same political party. They're all around each other all the time. Plus,
but wait, what are you talking about? When I brought that up, Matt Kantz is just convinced that they have nope, there's no connection. People just go their opposites. You're
like
exactly
Matt,
right. I like Matt too. But that was nuts.
I don't think he was necessarily being dishonest. I think he was being naive.
Yeah,
naive and ignorant.
Yeah,
naive and ignorant on that one. I don't think he was being dishonest. Being naive and ignorant.
I agree.
And all you got to ask yourself, you ask 100 people that sit in those meetings and then go, because listen, when we go out of town to these meetings where we're all at, and we all close down the bar, we have an open bar or whatever, we shut that thing down. Ask anyone who's closest to being the same in those meetings and outside of those meetings. And you're going to see outside of those meetings, a lot of these people are completely different. They're buttoned up, straight faced in the meeting.
Yeah.
And like Chris said earlier, the camera's on them for a long time. They show their true self. They don't want to slouch. I can remember one meeting one time. This is the one where they weren't live streaming, but I was doing it with my phone.
Yeah.
Right? Because when they wouldn't do it the year before we got them to do it, I live streamed it with my phone the whole time. And Ryan Ballard was tired, and he wanted to just kick back in his chair. And Jane was sitting next to us, because I sit next to Ballard. Jane was next to him. And she said, well, go ahead and kick back, baby. And he said, I can't. And he pointed to my camera. And he said, I can't. I'm on video, right? He was so cognizant of the fact he didn't even want to just kick the chair back and relax. We're in there for 12 freaking hours.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
I'm like, wearing a tank top. Right? Like, it's totally informal, right? But
right.
These polished. There's a difference between elected officials and politicians. The politicians are going to stay that way the whole time. Yeah. I view myself as an elected official. I'm not going to paint this picture of something that's. You can be formal. There's a time to be professional.
Sure.
But this is an informal process, and trying to stay buttoned up for 12 hours, 2-3 days in a row, they have a hard time doing it, and they know it.
Yeah, yeah. The last thing, and we'll let you go. David has been talking about this, and I've been trying to get a formal statement. From everything I'm hearing, there is no. Have you heard about this? The Invenergy claimed that they turned in an environmental impact study, and apparently they did not. Have you heard anything about this?
Is that from Mr. LaRue? I cannot see the question.
Yeah, he can't see. Yeah,
for whatever reason, I can't see him. So, but Mr. LaRue's brought that up before, and I've heard other people say that. I think what he's saying is accurate. I think they said they were going to do it. I've not seen it. There's a lot of things they said they were going to share with us that they didn't. if you remember when we were wanting to see the overlay on the map of where the project, they told us they'd get us that, and then it was like pulling teeth to get it.
They specifically did not want. I remember that that was a meeting, and they were like, we don't want people to see it." Then they finally would like bring it up and let you guys see it, but they didn't want it on camera, and they were real funky about it.
Smoke and mirrors. That's everything you need to know. When people are doing that, there's a reason they're doing it, right? Because they know people are going to object to it.
Yeah,
I can think of a million places to put. I tell you what, and this is what I would love to tell our commissioners. I've been asking them for 3 years now to put solar out at our Delaware County Jail and Justice Center. Number one, I would like to do like a parking carport like they do at the library out there. Number two, I would like to put on the roof. And the third place I would like to do it is on the old football field. That's an old school. They got a 100-yard football field. You guys, we spend over $1 million a year for utilities at that freaking building, right? We could easily put industrial solar. Well, it's commercial. It's commercial solar.
Commercial solar.
Right there. If we did that on our county buildings, I might be a little bit more open-minded to hearing what these guys are talking about with solar. They did it in Delville. King made sure Delville has it. But for whatever reason, they're allergic to making smart business decisions with our money. I mean, that would be a good investment. Then maybe people might take it a little bit more serious when they're trying to put it across the street from their house, But that's the only solar I want to hear them talking about is putting solar on our own county-owned property to help pay our $1 million in utilities. Because if there's not, if you guys don't remember, there was a great decision made. Hey, we're struggling to pay utilities in this one building. I have an idea. Let's build a whole separate building, and we'll keep them both. And now we'll pay utilities in both buildings and maintenance costs and all that stuff. So we're paying out a ton of money that we could be, offsetting those costs. So anyway, that's just a rant I have. I don't want to hear nothing about solar from those commissioners unless they're talking about doing that.
Right.
I know. To answer your question on Mr. LaRue, I've never seen it. I've not heard about it. I think they're blowing smoke up your butt.
I've not heard anything about. I've not been able to locate that through the state house or anything. So I think Invenergy's full of it. I think it is what it is.
Now I brought this up real quick before you move on, and this is something that I told these solar folks before. This is important. You guys know this. Even if the commissioners put their foot down and said Delaware County's closed to industrial solar, just like the windmills, just like the CAFOs. If we did that tomorrow, there's still an effort at the State House to introduce bills that says that due to our power grid, that this is a matter of national security, and local governments such as ours has no right to restrict the development of these facilities. These lobbyists in the solar industry, they're catching on. They're catching on that we're putting ordinances in places. So they're now lobbying our state house and our representatives to say that this is a matter of national security, to pass a bill in the legislatures that would supersede our local ordinance and override us. So even if we did get that tomorrow, in 2 or 3 years, they may be forcing us to put up windmills and solar panels and saying it's a matter of national security. We have no say over that. So I just want people to be aware that's a possibility.
That's why it's important. Elections have consequences, and we need to be knowing who our state representatives and our state senators are. And as important as it is to follow what's going on in local government, you need to be following what's happening at the state house. Those are a whole nother set of jokers that are crazy, and you have to get in tune with, and that's very important. So
I seen a guy made a comment.
They're lining their campaigns.
They're lobbying those. No one's lobbied me and gave me lobbying money to speak out against it. But I seen a guy comment. He said, I'm starting to realize that local elections have a bigger impact on my life than national elections.
Oh, God.
And I was like, you think? Like 10 times more.
Right.
Of course it has a bigger. My dad's like that. My dad pays no attention to what's going on locally. He's all about, Fox News, and he'll tell you all the senators and congressmen. He don't have a clue who the local officials are. And I try to tell him, like, Hell, he don't even give a shit that I'm a local elected official. I'm his son. I told him, I said, dude, the local people impact your life way bigger than these congressmen that you've never met. These senators. He just, some people just don't pay attention to it.
It's important to follow what goes on nationally, and I'm a news junkie and follow all of that. But yeah, you were 1,000% right. So local and state, you have to follow what's going on. And to be honest, to be honest, if you followed what's going on locally and at the state level, it's more interesting and it's more diabolical and it's more crazy, and there's it's insanity. It's everything you see going on nationally is going on at the local level, on a kind of on a bigger scale, because it's the people it's going on in your community, and to me it has more impact.
A lot of them Joe Biden started off as a county councilman. Mike Braun started off on the school board. National politics is local.
That's I'm not a sports fan, but I'm like, it's like being called up to the major leagues. It's you're on all these farm teams, and that's what it is. It's that's why I say when we have a full county full of shitty elected officials, who do we think that we send up to our local state rep? We send up one of these shitty candidates. So imagine if we could start removing the 40 some elected officials we have across the city and the county. If we could put half of those in, would be our candidates, our good, smart citizen candidates that would be good officials. Then when it's time to kick somebody up to the state level, wow, we're now moving a good official up to the state level. So we start putting good officials at the state level. So then when it's time to kick up to national, well, chances are you have a good, you have someone good at the state level to kick up nationally.
And the reason why that doesn't happen is because of political gatekeeping.
Absolutely.
Right? Let me give you an example. Micah Beckwith. If you guys haven't met Micah's awesome. Micah is like the rarest of rare. You don't just jump number 2 in the government and the governor's position. He's second line to the governor. He will be after November, right?
Yeah.
But you know what happened when Micah tried to get in local politics? They blackballed him.
They would not have him.
They kicked him off as vice chair of precinct committeeman, his own party in his own neighborhood. Right? So they did the same thing to him that they tried to shit on me here. So when you get good people like that, Micah just took the long way around and bypassed everything. Yeah. And now he's at the top. But that doesn't happen. That in the real world, that's like a 0.5% chance. Matter of fact, I think it's the first time it's ever happened. I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and that's why that's why right now what he's facing is so great by the people that are in the establishment, just trying to pile on him and turn his head and say, hey, look over here, or look, we're cool, or we want to be, and that's why it's so important that he
they're all falling in line now.
Fight that off. Yeah.
Yeah, they're falling in line to be his best friend now.
Yeah.
Mike is not stupid. He remembers who was with him from the beginning, right? Some of those guys like Janet Gernan and David Williams and people from other counties that when he was a long shot vowed to give him support. I voted for him as a state delegate, and I can tell you half the delegates that were with me from Delaware County, the party people, they didn't.
Yeah. Right.
It was the outsiders like me and David Williams, Janet Gernan, and a few others that voted for him.
Yeah.
And I'm glad he made it through.
Yeah. I'm glad he turned back Julie McGuire. I think we're gonna have him back on here in about a week or so. So he came on. Matter of fact, I think we were the first show.
One of the first, if not the first,
that
interview
he talked to after his win, and so that was kind of cool. But I think we're gonna have him back on in a week, and we're gonna duke out some of his beliefs, connections with some of his newish friends. So we're gonna find out what's going on there. But well, Ryan, I appreciate you taking the time coming on. Anything else you need to say before we roll?
Yeah, I was gonna say, I always forget. I'm a foul mouth every time I talk to Mike. I forget he's a pastor. And I'm like, if anyone who knows me off the record, I'm a foul mouth. But Mike is a good guy. But no, all I want to say is, you guys stay in the fight. Don't put your head in the sand. Pay attention. And I'm gonna give you guys one little fun assignment. This is just for fun. I follow all the national news too. I know I post a lot on Facebook, but I'm on Twitter way more than I am on Facebook.
Yes.
There's a fun thing going on Twitter right now, or X, and I want you guys, when you get done with this podcast tonight, it didn't work on my Google. I have a Hey Google, right? I say, Hey
Yeah.
Google. My little 2-year-old, she'll go, Hey Google, play Elsa.
Yeah.
Right? And they'll play the Elsa song, which I think is hilarious that she knows how to do that. But anyway, if you have an Amazon, ask your Amazon and say, Hey Amazon, see, there my Google's talking. Say, Hey
No.
Amazon, why should I vote for Donald Trump? And your
I've been
Amazon will
seeing
tell
this.
you,
Is this
oh, I
happening?
can't. Yeah, and they'll say, I can't get involved in elections. We can't do this and that. You say, okay, hey Amazon, why should I vote for Kamala Harris? Kamala Harris is a great candidate, fighting for the people. It's another example of election interference. And hold on, hey Google, turn off. It started playing music, but I got that thing in every room. It's great. But
Yeah.
anyway, it's another example of election interference. It'll tell you about one candidate. It'll block another, just like when I tried to Google President Donald Trump or whatever. I
Yeah.
typed in President Donald, and it would not auto-populate. It was pulling up Donald Duck, all these different presidents. I swear to God. And I was like, this is election interference. This is when we say they cheated in 2020, this is the shit we're talking about, right? That's what we're talking about. It's happening again. So if you guys got it on Amazon, try it. You'll see it for yourself. I'm not just a conspiracy theorist. Well, I am, but this one's true.
That's hilarious. Well, very good, Ryan. I appreciate you taking the time. We'll be watching the council budget meetings, and we'll definitely have you back on before you're out of here.
Yeah, if there's any excitement, we'll come on and talk about it.
All right. I appreciate it. Thank you very much, sir.
All right, take care.
Yep. Bye. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was Delaware County Councilor Mr. Ryan Webb, America's councilman, and he was giving us his thought about what's going on in the county. Now, before we leave, we've got just a few more minutes. I'm gonna share with you, for those that did not see the Delaware County Commissioners meeting today was just right at about 59 minutes. We're not going to watch the entire meeting. They really didn't. There was a few things they talked about. I would say that if you live in Delaware County, it would probably be worth your time to go back and watch the county meeting in full from start to finish, because there are some things they talked about that are of interest, but nothing that's like major. So we're going to go over, just so you guys can hear exactly what's happening with the moratorium. I want you to hear the back and forth and what they're talking about. And then I want you to hear a couple of the citizens' comments that spoke. So we'll watch this, and then we'll get ready to wrap her up here. So let me start this meeting up.
Commissioners meeting. It is Tuesday, September 3rd, 2024. Time is 9 a.m. Firm or entity seeking to place or install a solar farm on any property in Delaware. Permitting, or I make a motion we approve. Thanks for all your work on this, Rick, and I like getting out of the schools. I'll second that. A motion second.
Here we go.
Can you call the roll? Second. Yes. Henry. Yes. King. Yes. Thank you. Next, we're going to move to department heads and elected officials. I'd like to start off by, we had some people that lived out around the Rorton and Hamilton Township area come with some concerns about the solar fields. After having a few conversations, I contacted our attorney and asked him to put together a resolution for a moratorium. Stop any permitting or any construction.
It's an ordinance, dumbass.
At that time, John, would you like to go over the ordinance? Sure, it's an ordinance actually. So This is an ordinance imposing a moratorium on filing and accepting new applications for solar farms until 12:01 a.m. January 1, 2025. It's based on the similar moratorium that was adopted 2-3 years ago.
So, first and foremost, keep in mind that when the commissioners wanted this done, they originally just put it in place from now until January. So that they didn't even offer up 6 months. When they put this forward to have the attorney do this, this was literally done to allow King to get out of the door. Period. It was done to allow King the chance to get out the door. September 3rd. Okay. October, November, December 31st, and then January 1st at 12:01. This was like, 3 months and something. That's what it was. That's what it was. Yeah, this was checkers. This was, he's like, king me. All right. Let's listen to what happens here.
By this county. A moratorium shall be imposed on the county commencing on September 3rd for the acceptance, review, filing of any application by any person, firm, or entity seeking to place.
When I first heard him say that, I was like, how's it going to commence on September 3rd? And then I was like, oh, shit. So let me just tell you, folks, this is a good way to prove, ladies and gentlemen, that these people talk outside of these meetings inappropriately, technically in what would be an open door violation, because there's no way that this could start on September 3rd unless they're going to vote and it passes introduction. Then they vote to suspend the rules and that passes. And then they vote a second time to pass it. And the only way that they would feel confident to write in September 3rd is if they already know across the board they're voting for this. They're going to vote to introduce, they're going to vote to suspend the rules, and then they're going to vote a second time to pass it. And so, ding, 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 ding. This is the best way to understand that they talked outside of the classroom.
Place or install a solar farm on any property in Delaware County. Nothing in this moratorium shall prohibit any person, firm, or entity to conduct discussions, negotiations, meetings, or provide information about solar energy, any proposed project, or information about said project to any person, elected official, or organization. Moratorium shall remain in place until 12:01 a.m. January 1, 2025. That's
January 1.
Guts of the ordinance. I don't have an ordinance number, so I'll let the auditor's office.
So I spoke with Mr. Spangler about the possibility of having a question or a referendum put on the ballot in reference to solar for this election.
Now, this is interesting. This is interesting what Shannon's saying. Shannon's saying, like, look, we didn't want anything to do with it. We wanted the citizens to do this, which I would love. I would love if this was put on the ballot in a question.
So he's already talked to Spangler.
Yep.
And it can't go on this one.
Yep.
So why did they only write the moratorium through January? Why not write the moratorium all the way through until there can be a citizens referendum?
Ding, 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 ding.
That would be the smart way to do this.
That would have been the smart way to do this, which is what I thought that at this point, I thought they might have been doing, that he might have been talking about doing. Because when we're jumping ahead of ourselves. This is what he says. So he talked to Spangler about having it on this upcoming November ballot. But, I knew that was no good because they missed the deadline.
It's the deadline for this election. So then I asked if we could have a separate sheet of paper at all the polling locations to have people vote yes or no, about solar. And that's illegal now.
That's
Apparently
illegal.
some other county did that and it kind of messed the election up, so we can't do that. The next election would be in 26, of course.
Then we have a primary in May of 2026. We have a general election in November of 2026. So that's not next year, but that's basically 2 years from now, you know, essentially. And I'm like, okay, here they're gonna open it up and put the moratorium in place from now until then. Yay!
So that's kind of a thought I'm having, but also I want to check into if there's any new information about property value guarantees, and if there is, could we just do the property value guarantees on those zones special use? Because I don't want to. My big concern with property value guarantees is a conflict with any industrial or anything like that that we would have coming to Delaware County. So those are a couple things I want to check on. I would also, I've been thinking about this ordinance. I would also like to make that March 1st, give any newly elected officials an opportunity to kind of catch up on this and give them a couple months.
Okay, so now we get to the 6-month window. Okay, so it's not going to be until it can be on the ballot, but now he's opened it up for a 6-month window. Okay. Look at King's face. It's like they are, what's it called in the video game world? An NPC, an NPC, a non-player person or whatever. That's what
non-playing character.
A non-playing character. King is like a non-playing character in like a real role, but he's like somehow is an NPC stuck in this real role.
Fair. So do we need an introduction on this, John? Yes, we need to introduce it. I'll make a motion. We introduce ordinance 2024-018 with the change of the moratorium remain in place until 12:01 a.m. March 1st, 2025. Second.
Seconded.
And we have a motion and a second for introduction. Can you call the roll?
Mr. Henry? Yes. Mr. Reagan? Yes. King?
Yes.
I'll make a motion to suspend the rules. Second.
Have a motion and a second to suspend the rules. Yeah, can you call the roll?
Mr. Henry? Yes. Mr. Reagan? Yes. King?
Yes.
I'd like to adopt ordinance 2024-018 with the corrections I stated. Second.
Have a motion and a second. Yeah, can you call the roll?
Mr. Henry? Yes. Mr. Reagan? Yes. King?
Yes.
And there it is, ladies and gentlemen. There they voted on the moratorium. Yay, kind of little victory. All right, now let's listen.
I know, Planning Commission, I know you guys are busy, but could you kind of research any new property value guarantee information? And John, would you look into the possibility of limiting property value guarantees to just special use? Anything zoned special use? Thank you. Special use just for solar or for all special use? Just special use. You can do solar, but I feel like that's for any special use. There's lots of things that have special uses, so. I know there is, but okay. See both ways, okay, which is solar and special use. Okay, I can do that. I was trying not to point out solar, was my objective there. I understand. I just want some clarification, so I will fix the ordinance and send it to, Marissa, okay? Well, I spoke to this company last week.
Can you explain the moratorium? Because I think there's some people that don't understand the moratorium. I had this gentleman ask me what that means.
That means right now that the solar companies, they cannot get any permits to start construction on the land. No solar can at this point in time. Till the moratorium is done. Well, nothing can happen right now until the moratorium is released. What information on that? I heard nothing about. I had drones flying over the house and I spoke to this renewable energy Thursday. First time I spoke to this company. They started getting their leases in 2020. I asked them why no elected official had been contacted. Well, that's not what they do. They get their leases and they get all their stuff set in place before they notify anybody. So this has been going on since 2020.
Yet they expect this company is just going to bow out for the next 6 months.
From my understanding, they contacted one elected official a few months ago, and that was about a tax abatement. That was Councilman Bill Hughes. They contacted him about a tax abatement. I don't know what he told them. I don't know if they're still in contact.
Man, I can't. It's going to be interesting to hear what Bill has to say about this.
I have no idea. Bill Hughes. He's the only elected official that I know of that they've contacted. Because it really bothers me that elected officials, we see everybody in here in this room. We should have been contacted. We should have been notified or something prior to anybody getting any letters. I still don't have a letter that I've seen from this company, and that it really bothers me that happens. And even prior to speaking with them, that's the reason why I got a hold of Mr. Brook about doing the moratorium, because like Shannon said, I talked to him about the property value. That's big. On that, because it was in the ordinance at one point in time, then it was removed when we did the ordinance, but maybe that's something that we need to have added back into this. Me personally, I'm tired of these solar companies coming here, doing their business behind everybody, and then all of a sudden, after they get to the place where they want to do it, then they send out the letters and everything.
Then stop them.
You know, I've also always believed that if somebody owns a property, it's not for me really to say what they can do with it.
I agree.
But it has to be good for both parties, the neighbor and.
I disagree with him there. I don't think I don't think what I do on my land has to be good for my neighbor. I just don't think what I do on my land can completely detrimentally affect my neighbor. I think his mind is in the right place where he's saying this. Whether he truly believes that or not, that's another story. But I believe that, you know, I think I get what he's saying, but I think he said it wrong.
The reasons why I wanted the moratorium. But nothing can be done until this moratorium is released. Okay?
See you, GW.
Do we have any other department heads or elected officials that would like to speak?
Good morning, Jane Miranda, Community Corrections. I am here seeking approval for Community Corrections.
Okay, now we're going to jump ahead here because now this just goes into, this is done. This just goes back into the Delaware County Commissioners meeting. And they
911.
They deal with regular commissioner meeting activity.
That could do it or something.
You can go back and watch this. This is definitely worth a watch. This is an interesting debacle where they have someone out of county that needs transported into.
Which goes right by there to get some passes that we could give our employees at a discount. So.
Commissioners for allowing us to take that step.
Okay, here we go.
Public comments. First up, we have William Frank.
Now listen.
Payroll for 8.
Listen. Just listen to the tone in his voice. Close your eyes for a moment and listen to the tone in his voice. And just tell me, Does this sound like a man that's like concerned with what you're thinking, concerned with you, concerned with being a public servant, or is he running through the motions and he's just like sick of it, and you almost wonder if he's going to jump off the building after the meeting? Like, he's just, I don't understand what, he's lived a pretty good life. I don't understand why he's just so freaking, like, they call me negative. I'm a happy, sunshiny person, man. I might be an asshole and I might demand crazy things out of my elected officials, like, you know, do what we say and talk to us and be transparent. I'm insane like that, but I am a happy person. But listen to these people. Listen to King talk.
2024, an amount of $945,126.40. Second. Hey, can you call the roll, please? Ms. Henry? Yes. Ms. Reagan? King? Yes. Next, we'll move to public comments. First up, we have William Frazier.
I did not say that.
Next, we'll move to Doug Marshall.
Good morning. My name is Doug Marshall, and as you know, I've shown past concern about the impact of solar farms in our community. I just want to first say thank you to you for putting in place the moratorium. Commissioners, I appreciate how you especially have led the last couple of weeks by listening and deciding to hit the pause button in order to allow time to look at our current ordinance and make possible necessary changes. So thank you. As we know, the moratorium is the first step, and thank you, Commissioners, for allowing us to take that step with you. Please know that we want to help in any way in taking the second step together and adjusting our ordinance. That work is for another day, but we are ready to help. Leadership is difficult, and I truly respect your service. What I've been drawn to over the past 2 weeks is a phrase that relates to all of us involved in this, that you can find in Esther 4:13-14. That phrase is, for such a time as this. For such a time as this, indeed, over past days, I've witnessed true democratic government in action, leaders making time to take input, citizens working together, and neighbors actually meeting each other and collaborating towards a common goal. Commissioners, you have set Delaware County on the path toward a positive resolution by establishing the moratorium. And it's our deepest, I hope you hear our deepest gratitude and thanks. It's a step-by-step process, and we'll be glad to take the next steps with you. For such a time as this, Commissioners, neighbors, and friends, thank you.
Yeah. Next, I believe it's Autumn.
Good morning, Commissioners, and thank you so much for the opportunity to speak here publicly, and just thank you. So, like Mr. Marshall, I only had one thought on my mind to share for today, and I prayed and believed it would be a thank you. My name is Autumn Grismore. My husband and I have lived in the Royerton area for 18 years. We chose this area because it was close to the city, but still connected us to our rural roots. I am the daughter of a second-generation farmer, a farmer who only had daughters. If you don't know what that means, we are just built differently. I grew up with our few hundred-acre hog farm being my source of food, play, safety, family ties, and faith. That said, I want to thank you for the astute action today on imposing a moratorium. I know the work that lies before you and all involved will be challenging. I hope you will allow us to come alongside you in constructing a way to move forward on the subject of solar, a way forward that benefits the communities these industrial sites affect. I am concerned not only for the health, safety, and welfare of the people who live near these industrial sites, but also for our land. Truly, we as a county are defined by our beautiful farmland and agricultural contribution, not only in our county, but well beyond the borders of this county. The future of America's farmland is up to all of us, and we should not take this responsibility lightly. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for taking the first step in the right direction. Have a great day.
Thank you. Tim Nickum.
Well,
Good morning, Tim Nickum. I live in Harrison Township, County Road 500 West. It's really a pleasure to not have to be up here with critical remarks. I want to say honestly and sincerely to all of you, thank you for your action today. On the behalf of hundreds of residents of the Gaston area, the Albany area, and our newfound friends in the Roriton area who have been exposed to this threat. Mr. King, I empathize with your thoughts where you said it's a gut punch and it's frustrating to live in darkness, not know what's going on till the last minute, till it's too late in a lot of places. That's what a lot of us residents have lived with for a long time, and it is a gut punch. And in the Gaston area, we know that energy has not gone away, and we live with that constant reminder. So I'm very pleased that perhaps this time we can open this subject back up and really do a job here to protect all of us. Mr. Henry, I think your comments are going in the right direction. Both of you mentioned the property value guarantee. That's something that the study committee did think was very important. And Mr. Brooks, I would make a recommendation that your first email be to your counterpart in Madison County. They have put together an admirable solar ordinance, and it does include a property value guarantee. There are also other counties in Indiana which have done so also. So again, thank you very, very much.
Thank you. Next, Cheryl Dawson.
Morning, and thank you also, Cheryl Dawson. I live at the corner of State Road 28 and Wheeling Avenue north of Muncie, near the proposed Roriton project. Thank you for the moratorium. I also appreciate it. I emailed this morning to the three commissioners, you three, an article on the dangers to good farmland. So you probably have that in your inboxes. It talks about the tendency to clear topsoil and previously I had a letter sent to you last December about drainage problems. So these problems are still going to be in my mind going forward. But yeah, sincerely, thank you so much. And to Mr. King, some of us have become aware of, was it PJM report we found. It's dated August of 2020. It was done as a study for the interconnections of the grid. And there's a map in that report that shows a solar facilities map where the proposed Roriton project would be. So this very obviously was being planned a long time ago. And I don't know if there's a connection back to AEP or INM with this. I'm always suspect with the solar companies. This particular one, I believe, is a relatively smaller solar company. So I'm always worried that they may in turn sell the leases. And then if those leases would end up in the hands of a public utility, I worry about the smaller farmers who have leased their land. I don't know. It's just my gut instinct that I'm talking. But I want to be careful that some of these farmers don't ultimately lose their land down the road by signing these leases. And then I'm worried that the land won't be good for farming any longer at the end of the leases. And that's tied to the article that I emailed. Thank you again very much.
Thank you. Next, Ron Crouch.
Ron had to leave.
Not here. Stephen Hines.
Hi guys. My name is Stephen Hines. I think I can speak for Ron too. He had his anniversary was yesterday, so he left to take care of his wife. So I just wanted to say thank you guys again, just like everybody else has, for the moratorium, and specifically Commissioner Henry. Thank you for your work for trying to get it on the ballot. and then again, doing the extra work, trying to get on a separate piece of paper, because that's what's gonna,
I just want
bring
these
us all
people to
together
know.
is exposure to all this, because the Gaston people, they had to fight this by themselves, and, we're right next door in Oregon, and we didn't go to bat for them like
We
they
didn't
have
go to
for us.
bat for them.
And
That's
so,
big.
I think
Now
really a lot
now
of
these
don't
people
look at this
know.
stuff until it's right in their backyard. And so, just exposing this, and getting people, educated on it, is gonna be a big deal. So I hope you guys keep pushing in that direction. And yeah, again, thank you, Mr. King, for the, property right guarantee. I think that's common sense to have that in there. Yeah, and just thank you guys again. I won't take too much of your time.
Yeah. Tim Carter.
Tim Carter, I live out by, well, the easiest thing to say is Tony Winery, because we all know that, right? So, been here for about 18 years or so, call it my home. I want to also echo everybody else by saying thank you for what you've just done. We really appreciate that. I also, Mr. King, really kind of respect what you're saying. I'm a huge believer in transparency, and I think that tells you a lot about these companies when there is no transparency, that they're basically trying.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, and I like this guy. I like what he said. When I spoke at the meeting, when I spoke at the meeting at Ron's house after I spoke, this guy stood up, and I don't know what exactly he said, but it sounded like he said something like, for those of us that don't have it in us to fight for the First Amendment or something like that. And I was like, whoa, what? Because I was telling them, like, hey, you don't have to give your address or whatever. And all these people, and I get it. I mean, they're just, listen, compliance is a big thing. Just comply. I don't have anything to hide. I'll give all my information to the police. And it doesn't bite you in the ass till it bites you in the ass. And then when you do it, it's too late, whatever. So these people are just getting up and doing what they think. No problem, no harm, no foul. It's just, I get it. But I'm just trying to say things when I say things to try to tell you how to take back a little bit more of your power and to try to get what you want, because I don't want these people at the end of the day to get to March and then be like, but wait a minute, we didn't open up the ordinance. Nothing's happened. We're right back here. And that's what I'm just afraid that that's where we're going to be. I'm afraid that that's where we're going to be. I hope not. We'll see what happens. I know that the citizens are still pushing forward. They're still fighting. They're still meeting. So that gives me a lot of hope. I just, we'll see what happens. We'll see.
Trying to get all their ducks in a row so that they can just steamroll you once they actually decide to move forward. And I want us to all think about that, because that to me is a huge red flag, right? I mean, I'm not going to go through this today because you guys put in what you did this morning. But there's environmental issues, there's safety issues. These companies like to downplay all these things and say, oh, that's not that big of a deal. There's going to be a chain link fence at the end of my driveway with barbed wire on the top of it. I mean, if it's not a safety issue, why do you have that, right? And so those kinds of things, I think, are something that we all want to think about. The other big one that a lot of people don't talk about, the solar farm certainly don't talk about, is the long-term impacts. This solar farm has a lifespan, and when it is done, what happens next, right? And as a community, we have felt this pain, right? I want you to think about, all of this.
We'll jump
family,
forward.
when they saw me, was rushing out saying, I knew you when you were this big. And I asked this, and they didn't know about the sound. They wish they had known about the sound, and which I thought was really remarkable that every person of every age group said that. I asked about property values, and they said that there was a line, but it expired after 24 months that nobody knew about. So they did not hold up their end of the deal. So 24 months later, if people wanted to sell, they really couldn't. No realtor would touch them. And I don't know what that means for us, because I literally just got off a plane yesterday after funerals, so I'm a little bit high strung. But that was my big takeaway. They would have nenever done it. And this is a community that it's a little bit more liberal, that really was embracing the idea of green energy, and they didn't realize how much they were being lied to.
She was
so thank you for all you're doing. We are all in this together because we want Delaware County to thrive. We raised our son here. We work here. I own a small little business in downtown Muncie. Love it here, but I was shocked when I heard that little 24-month, they only guaranteed it for 24 months, and that they would have all not done it because of the sound more than anything. So that's my takeaway. Thank you so much for all you're doing. We really appreciate you.
Billy Bennett. Angie Bragg.
Hi, good morning. I'm Angie Bragg, and I also live on 25 West. First of all, thank you for the moratorium this morning.
This is big.
That means more than you guys can imagine to this group that is here, and will continue to be here. Now
Good.
that we understand what the Gaston folks have gone through, and we know that we're at least on the front cusp of this, there's a lot of work to be done, and I
Good.
think everyone in this room that's here on behalf of solar is committed to that.
Good.
It is interesting. There's a couple of things, and I will try not to be redundant, but unfortunately, the redundancy, I think, is what is impactful
Yes.
because we're all feeling the same things.
Yes.
So what happens after March 2025?
Yes.
When, does this restart? So those are things I know we've got work to do in the meantime.
Yes.
But the questions are, why do they want our land? Obviously, it's very lucrative for these solar companies. They're getting carbon credits. It's related to government work, things like that are all done at the federal levels. I know, I understand that. But I can only assume too, it's access. Highway 28, there's hundreds of workers that come to actually install these solar farms. Where are they going? How can they get in there? These are all impacts to short-term and long-term use of how that land is utilized. And then just understanding the historical success. My thing is I look at this and I don't trust anyone when it comes to this type of taking over land. Question everything.
Meaning the elected officials too.
So what has happened to the solar farm communities before us, just like Jules was talking about? There's all kinds of historical data. We are not the first. In fact, it's kind of funny. I had forgotten this, but my parents are from a small town in Wisconsin, Soldiers Grove. And in 1981, it was the first solar town USA. And the whole objective of making that a solar town was they had to move their town because of flooding. And so the government gave them money to relocate the town if they made it a solar town. And I can tell you today, it's not used. It's no longer a solar town. So that leads to what happens when the panels expire. How do you dispose of them? What's that impact to our community? There's that laundry list. I feel like we've got a lot of work to do. We all have jobs, right? We're all working, so we're doing this in our spare time, and it's interesting what you can uncover. And I guess we're thankful for Google right now. Health impacts. So we have folks on our road. Just our road is pretty amazing, but I've got heart issues, pacemakers, people that are in wheelchairs. We have one that she has a seizure disorder. What happens? Because this elevates all of that. And then just our overall, Jules and everybody has talked about the noise impact. It's called a solar island effect. Our temperature around our area is going to go up 7 to 10 degrees. Like, you don't think that's that big a deal, but it is. So,
Thanks for 3 minutes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
And it's like they couldn't let her finish.
Amanda Kishel.
Hi, I'm Amanda Kishel, and I also live in the Raritan area. And I do want to say, what's interesting to me is hearing that they haven't reached out to you. They have reached out to me as a neighborhood president many times. I've had video conferences with these people. I've talked on the phone. I've caught them in like multiple lies. They're very, very convincing. And I struggle with that, especially, like I said, as a neighborhood president. Because you guys should be the first ones to know, not me. It shouldn't be me that they're asking. They have a party planned for our neighborhood. Excuse me, I'm just.
So you've got to ask yourself, if they're reaching out to the neighborhood presidents, and King's saying they've been here since 2020, do we truly believe that they're not talking to any of the commissioners? And if so, then the commissioners need to be a ton more pissed than they are. And if they're just lying to us, and they have in fact talked to them, because keep in mind, go back and watch the fight through the Gaston fight. You can go back and watch all these meetings on the Delaware County Commissioners, the Delaware County government YouTube page, King kind of went back and forth on how much he knew about the Gaston stuff, when, where, how, why. And, so that's always been an issue for me.
And it's frustrating to me that as a resident, I've had more talk with him than you guys have, and that's not right. It shouldn't be right. So thank you for everything you've done. I know people have reached out to you, and I'm very thankful that you put the moratorium in. Okay, thank you.
Trent Larson.
I about thought right there King was going to say,
my name's Trent Larson. Just moved here from.
How much more of this? I thought he was going to say that. I thought King was going to say that.
That's one good way to crap on your neighbors. And so, again, I was an advocate for solar panels. I would ask you guys in this moratorium period of time to maybe go talk to the state. You guys might have an opportunity here to look at across the state the actual impacts in terms of temperature. We could be our own worst enemy. Everybody talk about this global warming thing. If you're putting up fields upon fields upon fields and acres upon acres upon acres of these panels, you're probably raising the surface temperatures pretty good.
Yeah. Now, here we go.
Janet Bernard.
Here's Janet. I want to give her full time. And I wish that King would have apologized to her. I feel like he owes her an apology. It's gross that he didn't, but I will apologize to you, Janet.
Good morning, commissioners. I did have a speech prepared, but of course now I don't need to speak to that. So the only thing I want to do at this point is to leave you with an important quote from the Rhode Island University study on property values. One of the eye-opening statements they conveyed was this: solar installations require over 10 times more land area than non-renewable sources to generate the same amount of energy, and the requirement of large tracts of land for their construction has become the largest cause of land use change in the United States. Lastly, I know Autumn Grismore sent all of you a link to the Miller study. I hope all of you take the time to read it if you haven't done so already. I appreciate your time and attention in listening to our concerns over the adoption of the moratorium. And I apologize, I'm Janet Gernon, and I'm a resident in Mount Pleasant Township.
No, you don't have to tell them that.
Janet was the last speaker we had signed up. Ms. Dawson did make a good comment about who's going to purchase this power. And that was one of the questions I asked them. Since it sat so close to AEP's grid, they really didn't answer. Yeah, they really didn't answer. So, who is going to benefit more from this? Is it the one that owns the power grid where all the power is going to go to? And that's what I look at. So, I mean, if I have a power grid and I want this to move over, because everybody remembers back when Obama was in, there was a thing signed where a lot of these power companies, they get additional finances and additional money for the more green energy that they get. And like I said before, the thing that really bothered me when I was talking to them is I asked, if you guys have been signing these leases since 2020, why haven't you contacted, the local officials? Why haven't we been informed in this? And more or less I was told because we didn't have to, because they didn't want this. They wanted to get everything, the ducks in a row, everything set up to move forward without having people in here like this. That's, why I'm glad we did the moratorium today. I'm not going to, hold on, Shannon, for a minute. I am not going to sign any agreements or anything with any solar companies until this is proven that people in this community want it. We've taken a lot of heat over solar over probably the last couple of years. We've been lied to just like you guys have been lied to.
And we've lied just
I
like,
think if they come in here, the first thing they need to do, they need to let the local officials know what their plans are. They did tell me that they're going to set up workshops. That's going to have the community come in so they can explain everything and stuff. And
nobody cares about that.
but I asked a lot of questions that I really wasn't happy with the answer. Go ahead.
I want to remind you guys, I think when we developed the ordinance, it was to allow local farmers to do what they want with their land. That was kind of why it was developed. The big problem with this particular solar issue is that there's part of that ground is owned by a corporation that's not from here. I have a problem with big corporations buying up farmland and then making our residents here suffer with the issues that we're
right.
talking about. So that's another issue. But I want, if you're not familiar with it, get on Beacon and look. Some of this farm ground is not owned by local people.
It's owned by, they're out of Carmel. Yep, they're out of Carmel, and then there's some of the other areas under a trust.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's an issue. That's an issue for me, honestly.
Well, it's the Gaston project. When we left in the 500 feet from not the property, is it from the, how was that?
Property lines.
From the property line. And for many of you, maybe not knowing how far that is, my family lived across from the airport. When we moved in, my father put gas line up that lane. And then when my sister inherited or purchased it, she had to put a new gas line. So I asked the gas man that was out there working, and he told me it's 600 feet. So I'm glad that we did leave that in at 500.
Great.
But this project is so residential is what I have a problem with. And I can't support it at this time. But thank you.
I can't support it at this time. Then end it.
Recess? Absolutely.
Recess. Let's get out of here. I'm tired of hearing the people. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was it. So here it is. Here it is. Here's the big thing. So everyone knows that I am not an asshole. Thank you, James King. Thank you, Shannon Henry. Thank you, Sherry Riggin, for putting the solar moratorium in place from today until March 1st. Thank you for that. Whether you did it because you're on our side, whether you did it because you're tired of hearing from citizens, whether you did it to help King get out the door, and whatever reason you did it, you did it. Thank you. Now, that thank you comes with a caveat, and that caveat is, please do not now just drag your feet, sit on your asses, and think, okay, we're shut up for 6 months. Please don't get shitty when citizens come in and want to talk about this still. Don't think this is going away. Please don't get an attitude with your citizens who take time out of their busy days, who take time out of their lives, who take time off their jobs to come in and talk to you about opening up the ordinance. Why don't you do this? Please don't push it to the citizens to push for it. Why don't you guys start the conversation about opening up the ordinance? Come together, meet us where we are. You don't have to walk the entire distance, James and Shannon and Sherry. It's like that old country song. You know, you start walking my way and I'll start walking yours. And so that's the thing. We'll meet you. Meet us. That's what I'm asking you. Don't use this time to think, good, those people are shut up and they're out of the way. I don't think they're going away. I hope they're not. And what I'm saying is use this time to do some serious work, because I think that this is something that we need to put an end to. This is not the war victory. We did not win the war. This is a sliver of a small little battle. This is like, nothing. So celebrate this small win, but realize we have a lot more to do. And there will come a point, I think, where there will be a victor in this. And at the end of the day, it's either going to be the citizens or it's going to be the solar companies. The elected officials aren't going to be in it. They're just going to be the path with which they allow one of the sides to get to victory. And if you want your elected officials that you employ, that you put in office and that you pay to be the conduit to which the solar company has a victory to industrial solar in Delaware County, then let them go on through. But if you say, no, you work for us, and if you're going to be a conduit for anything, you're going to be a conduit for us to gain victory over this. If you want to one day win this war and be done with it, then the commissioners are going to have to meet with us, and we're going to have to demand that. And so forgive me for being cynical. I've just dealt with these people on every other project and situation they've blundered. And it's never something as easy as this. That's all. That's all I'm saying. Don't kill me. Don't be mad at me. Don't be like, well, this guy's just being an asshole. I'm just telling you, welcome to the fight. Welcome to dealing with these people. It is who it is. You got to understand that. And maybe, and I'll say it this way. If you are upset with me, if you don't like my attitude about this, if you don't like this, I'm okay with that. I understand. I have a lot of people do that. I forgive you. And in 6 months, when you realize, okay, and you know what? I'll say it the other way. I'll say it the flip side. In 6 months, if I'm wrong and they were totally on our side and they were fought this and this is how they were going to, this is the start of them doing right, I will gladly eat crow. I will gladly say, oh my God, I was wrong. And I will kiss the ground they walk on. And I will tell you all you were right. I would love nothing more than to be wrong about this. That's all I'm saying. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's it for tonight. I do just briefly before we roll out of here, I do have to, as always, let you know that tonight is, of course, Tuesday, the 3rd of September. That is 246 days without communication from the Muncie City Councilor, Dale Basham. I have a surprise for you, ladies and gentlemen. Last night after the show, Kate was able to do some research back into our archives. We were able to find the original audio of the announcement video from where Basham says, I want to be a voice and a vote for the mayor. I am working on putting that video out. We're going to put that video out in its just entirety of the video with my thoughts on that. And then we're going to have that for all time to listen to and whatnot. So we will go over that tomorrow night, which will be amazing because tomorrow will be 247 days because I don't think that he's going to communicate with me between now and then. So we'll just, we won't hold our breath, but we will realize that we are 247 days into his term and we are 246 days without communication. He just has refused to talk to us. And of course, that is no way to behave. So we'll keep you posted with that. Ladies and gentlemen, we still have the fight going on with the mayor of Muncie and the clerk. They've been carrying on doing whatever. I sent out an email. Oh, we do have correspondence from the city. So we will be talking about that tomorrow. We'll let you know kind of what more is going on with the budget. I think that we've got to the bottom of what's been going on, at least with the missing 20 some pages. So I'll keep you posted on that. As far as what goes on with the date and time stamps, that's another story. And the big fight that occurred on Monday, the 26th, between the administration and the clerk's office, to the point where the police needed to be called. Have no clue what's going on with that. We still have a lot of information we're trying to find out. So you guys have a wonderful rest of your Tuesday. Have a great day tomorrow. Tomorrow's Board of Works Day. If you want, while we're ending here, please put up on the screen your time, the time limit that you think that the Board of Works from start to finish will be. And then also how much money you think they will pay in the claims. If you want to play in that game, you can put that up on the screen. And that way we can kind of look and see who gets closest. Obviously, Price is Right rules. The person closest to without going over wins. So that'll be that. You guys have a good evening. God bless each and every one of you. We will see you tomorrow at 9 p.m. Eastern. Take care. God bless. Good night. Goodbye. You'll have to play the thunderstorm.
That's crazy. The only memory they'll have of their mother is that they're.
No, you're fine. You know,